It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Cecile and Antonia Blitzer, and you were married to two brothers, Maurer, and we're here in your beautiful apartment in Netanya, and you were both a year apart.
Yes,
and
I live on the 11th floor of this building.
And you were both born in Antwerp.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about when you were born and what family you were born into? Where did your parents come from?
Poland.
Our father came from Sokolov.
In Poland.
And our mother, I think, came from Krakow. They married in... what year did they marry? I was born in 37. We were born in 37. So I think they were married in 34.
Something like that, yeah.
Yes. And then when the war started, my father fled with my mother to France.
No, we went from Belgium to France. We took the train from Belgium to France.
But can I ask, your family that you grew up in Antwerp, your father was involved in diamonds?
Yes, he was involved in diamonds. He left Poland on his own, cut off his payout. He was very religious at home. All his family was sent to Auschwitz. But he survived.
He survived with two sisters and a brother.
Pardon? Yes. Brother.
Basha, Ganya, and Yakov.
What? What about them?
And they never survived.
He survived, his brother and sister.
Yes,
two sisters.
Survived. Anyway, he came to Antwerp, met my mother there.
And was your mother religious as well?
I don't know if she was religious. I don't think they were very religious, actually.
But traditional?
Yes, traditional. Oh, yes. And when the war started in Antwerp, they went to Belgium. They went to France.
To Beauvallon we went.
And in France, my mother became sick. She needed a little woman operation. And so she was sent to a nursing home with nuns. The nuns wanted to convert her, and she wouldn't be converted. So when my father came in the evening, she'd hemorrhaged, and it was too late to save her. She was 29 years old, and she died.
She died. And if you read my story, you will see that I had a friend who was French, and he took me to where she was buried, because she died, and my father was upset, of course, because he was sitting in the park, and some young lady who was a religious girl came back from school, and she told her father, there's a man sitting in the park and he looks very sad, and I'm sure he's Jewish. Please go and see who it is. He went to see, and it was my father, and my father said, my wife has just passed away, and I want to marry her Jewish. I don't know how to do it. This man, this complete stranger, said, I will do it. So his daughter said, but you're a Kohen. He said, yes, but it's more of a mitzvah to me to do that. So this strange man buried our mother. And
do you have any recollections of your mother?
No, none whatsoever.
We don't have a face to look at.
No.
Can I ask, what is the first recollections that you have of growing up? Do you remember anything about Antwerp?
We remember being sent in France to a convent when my father, after my mother died, our father put us in a convent to
we didn't actually know we were Jewish.
To protect us from the German, because he was going to run away. He was going to go to Portugal because he had his sister-in-law there, and Portugal wasn't in the war. So he put us in this home, which was a convent. I do remember actually taking mattresses to go and sleep in a church or something when the bombing was gone.
To hide, yes.
We must have been 4 or 5 years old, like in that picture over there.
You have a picture of your your mother and your father?
Yeah. That's in Belgium at the seaside. That's before she passed away.
And she's smiling, and
Yes.
it's so special. But you were too young to remember.
Pardon?
You're too young to remember the...
Too young to remember, no.
I was 2 years old.
3. I was 4, yes.
And this is still in Antwerp.
Pardon?
This is still in Belgium.
Yes, this is still in Belgium,
Yes, I
before
think
she
it was
passed away.
Blackmanberg, I think it
No, I
was.
think Ostend.
Ostend.
I think so. Anyway, the thing
And
is
you
that
have other... Can we show some of the other pictures of... Is this a picture of your parents?
yes, this is a picture of my parents, probably before they got married in Belgium.
This is our grandmother.
That's that big picture on the wall.
Oh, this is a picture of your mother with... And the nuns wanted to convert her.
No, she wouldn't be converted. That's why they let her.
That's why they
didn't
let her
take care
die.
of-
She
that's
wouldn't convert.
That's why they let her hemorrhage. They didn't take care of her.
No,
It's
they
just
didn't
a-
look after her. Once she said she wasn't going to convert, they just left her.
And it was a very minor operation. She didn't have died from it.
This is our great grandmother.
That's my great grandmother. Great, look at the dress. She was born in 1855.
And it is from which side?
From our mother's side.
Yeah, on the,
So it's all our mother's
on
side.
mother's side, yes.
And where did she live?
Where did she live? Also in Poland.
Poland, yeah.
It's very,
The dress.
Beautiful, isn't it?
very beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Like royalty.
Yeah. But if you want a better picture of her, there's a big one on the wall up,
Sorry.
up there.
Okay. So, your father, when... Do you remember him telling you that your mother...
Our father never discussed any of this with us.
He never discussed our mother with us.
He never...
Once he married, he remarried.
No, well, just a minute. When the war was over, he sent somebody to fetch us and take us to London, where he had a sister, Auntie Bosch, who looked after us for a while until he married again. But he never spoke about her. When he was very ill and on his deathbed, we asked him about, our mother. Didn't want to know, didn't tell us anything at all. We only heard from our mother, from our cousin, Ellen Diesendroek, yes.
Elchanan Diesendroek.
Elchanan, who also lives here, he was his mother and his mother and our mother were sisters. And we are very close, and he gave us most of the pictures and told us most of the stories, because he's a bit older than us. And that's what we
It's
know.
amazing that you have these pictures. These are so
He
precious.
gave them to us. He gave them to us. They were in Belgium in a case when who passed away, not died. Who passed away? There was in a little case.
Susie.
Oh, Susie. My brothers. We have a stepbrother.
A half-brother.
Half
He
brother.
died now also.
Half brother, who had all the pictures, and we said, the pictures belong to us, they don't belong to you. It's us, not you. So we took them.
I don't think they were Susie's.
And this picture, this is the two, both of you.
Yeah.
Isn't that sweet?
And how old were you? It's such a beautiful picture.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I love that picture. Look at
That's a
that.
big one over there.
Look at that dress.
Yeah.
I think we were
We
4 or
must have been
5.
3 or 4 or 4 or 5 maximum.
It's so special.
Those are little green knitted dresses somebody sent us. My father used to send us parcels when we were in that convent for food and things. We used to share it out with the other children.
And we used to send him letters.
So can I ask?
Yes.
Because this is so unbelievable. Your father took you both to a convent.
Yes.
Where was the convent?
In France, in Beauvallon.
No, it wasn't. It was in.
What part of France is that?
I don't know, but it was where that she wasn't buried there. She was buried in. I don't know. I've got it on there. I've got it written on
And
there.
the convent that you went to.
Pardon?
Do you? What is your first recollections of the convent? Do you remember saying goodbye to your father, or do you remember?
No. I'm telling you, what I remember is taking the mattresses to sleep outside, and when I hear Christmas songs and things, they're familiar to me because
we didn't know we were Jewish. We used to go to church and
we used to hear them.
sing.
Holy Christmas songs. We used to. They sound very familiar.
So how old were you when you went into the convent?
3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Yeah.
Just after our mother died, because what was our father going to do with 2 little children? He needed to run away from the Germans.
He escaped from the Germans.
So he walked.
In the river.
He walked. No. He walked through the mountains with a guide.
And had diamonds with him.
To Portugal, and he had diamonds with him.
To pay for
That's how he paid his way. But he never slept for 4 nights because he thought maybe they'll murder him or they'll steal the diamonds from him. He wasn't sure. He was going to Portugal. Eventually, he arrived in Portugal and he was hiding under a bridge. His brother-in-law knew he was coming, but he wasn't sure when he was going to come. So one day, he went on that bridge, and the father-in-law called quietly, "Arnold, Arnold," or Arnold. My father called him Mendel. He was a rabbi of Lisbon, actually, brother-in-law. So he called him Mendush, man. He was whispering, because he was hiding under this bridge. Eventually, Mendel heard him and took him back to his house, where he stayed a few years because he was illegally in Portugal. He had no papers, nothing. So he never went out for quite a few months, and he stayed there.
And he stayed in Lisbon?
Yes.
For a while.
And what was the name of his brother-in-law? He was a rabbi?
Yes, Rabbi Diesendruck.
Rabbi Mendes Diesendruck.
And he would go to the shul, to the synagogue?
Pardon?
He would go to the synagogue in Lisbon?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. No, he was. I don't know where he was. He was a rabbi of Portugal. He must have been going to. I think maybe that was a holiday home where he was.
Maybe, I don't know.
So you both are. It's just unbelievable that you're both in this convent, and
we were always together. We were never separated.
When did you ask where your parents are, or did you? What did you know?
Well, we knew that our mother died, obviously, and that our aunt, my father's sister, took care of us. And then when my father met his second wife that he was going to marry, I've got the picture there, behind there.
Lillian Solomons was her name.
He brought us, he sent us to a Jewish boarding school whilst he was courting her in Brighton. We went to a Jewish boarding school.
But I was
Swanee.
Huh?
Yes, we were in Swanee.
No, Swanee was something else.
Can I ask this picture?
How
old were you in this picture?
I can't see the picture. I think
4 or 5.
4 or 5.
So,
You could see
you're already in the convent.
Yes. I don't know if that was in the convent or not. I don't think so. That was probably in Antwerp.
So this is before the war?
No.
Before you were taken to the convent.
No, we were in the...
Wait a minute. When we went to Antibas, how old were we? 1945. That could have been after the war,
Yeah.
with my aunt.
So when you were
Because the war ended 45 and we were born in 37, so how old were we?
37.
So I think this is before, sure.
Yeah,
But can
true.
I ask, when you were in the convent, did any family members come and visit you?
No, nobody. No,
No.
no.
We didn't have family members. What family members? My father's family was all wiped out. You know, we had nobody. We never had grandparents. We never had grandparents.
And how was it in the convent? What do you, besides from the mattresses, what do you remember? Did you have
Nothing.
enough food to eat?
I remember going to
We
church.
must have had enough food because we survived, but
Our father always sent us parcels, which we shared with food.
And you
but-
knew that it came from your father?
yes.
Yeah.
But the convent was not affected by the war. I mean, all the other children had to eat, and so we ate with them.
And did you make friends with the other children?
I suppose we did, but I don't remember any of it.
And you didn't know that you were Jewish?
No. We didn't know we were
We didn't know, and what, you know, when you're 3 or 4 years old, what do you know about religion? You don't know anything.
Yeah, we
If
didn't
you're
know.
not brought up to go to shul, like my grandchildren are today, they go to shul with their parents, you don't know what you are.
And do you still remember the hymns you had to sing in church? And
When I hear them, they're familiar, and some of the words I still know.
Yeah.
and how were the nuns? Were they pleasant?
Yes, I mean they looked after us.
I think we were okay.
Did
No.
you ever ask your father how he managed to bring you into the monastery?
No. We didn't.
Because they took a risk. If they would have been found out that they were hiding Jewish girls, it was
Yeah.
dangerous at that time. It was
They're
very
different.
dangerous.
Maybe there were even other Jewish children there, not just us. We don't know.
Was it only girls, or were there
We
also...
don't know. Don't know.
I don't remember whether there were girls, only girls.
And do you have... Was it a...
After the war, somebody sent my father a letter to say that wherever my mother was buried, he had to come and inter her somewhere else. Why? Because they turned the ground and they wanted to turn the ground.
But he never did.
But he didn't go. We don't know the reason why he never went. And eventually they buried her somewhere else, so we never knew where that grave was.
And if you read this, what I wrote, I had a French friend
I've got a
who
picture.
took me
I've got the
to France, where she was buried, to see if we could find the grave. But of course we couldn't. So we went to the town hall and we told them about our mother and where she was buried and one thing and another. And they took all the notes. And when I got home, about a month later, I got a letter from the Home Office with my mother's death certificate, which is when I actually mourned her.
Because before that you never knew the date.
No. So I mourned her then. If you read that article, you will see that this lady found it. Yeah, she told us all about it. I can't remember the town, but this friend of mine took me there and we looked everywhere, we couldn't find her. And the town hall wrote the note and sent us the death certificate. After 67 years I got a death certificate. Yeah, amazing. And I've told my children, I've on my 70th birthday or 75th birthday, I wrote this to my children. Yeah. And they can't believe that we never had grandparents, because thank God I've never got a grandmother, but we never had grandparents. We didn't know what grandparents were. But thank God we always, Cecile and I are very close, very close.
And when you asked your father, he just didn't want to speak about it?
No,
or?
we just ignored it. Just ignored it.
It's a pity he never told you.
Never told us the story. We asked him several times. I remember he had a heart attack or something, and he was on his deathbed. And we went in, and I said, tell us about our mother. He didn't want to know. And our stepmother didn't want to know either. She didn't help. So she looked after us, but she wasn't. When I became a mother, I realized that I didn't have a mother. You know, I got married and I had my first daughter, Esther, who was called after my late husband's mother, Esther. And I then realized what a mother was. Yeah.
But thank God you and Cecile were together. You had each other.
Yes, we always had each other. Yeah. Yeah. Except when I got married, I left her, which was to say, but 2 years later she married the brother.
That's amazing. And in that monastery, have you ever gone back to visit the monastery?
No. My father, my granddaughter, one of my granddaughters went to Poland and she visited a certain thing.
This is a picture. It's too small, the writing, I can't really read it on the grave.
I haven't got that.
So this is Arnold Blitzer. And where is he buried?
That's not Arnold Blitzer, that's the grave of Arnold Blitzer.
Yeah.
He's buried in Antwerp, in Frisch. Not Antwerp. Did you know that no Jewish person is buried in Belgium? Did you know that?
And they go to Holland.
So this is Frischie, where he's buried in Put, Holland.
In Holland. And this is Lillian.
That's his wife. She's also buried there.
Yeah, it's amazing that...
Now on her grave, we wrote that she wasn't our mother, because our mother didn't have a grave. We didn't want people to think, but because she was married to him with his name, that she was our mother. She adopted us, but she wasn't our real mother.
So when my father passed away, at the back of his grave, we asked if we could have our mother's name, because we don't have a grave.
Yes.
So behind the grave is our mother's name.
It is your mother's name?
Yeah.
Yes.
And this picture?
Yes.
What is this picture?
The Belgian community bought three plots in Put. Schomeradas, Marsikadas and Frischie. Frischie was the least religious one where they were buried.
And
That's Frischie.
But who's buried here?
I don't know.
Show me. Well, it must be our mother.
That's why I can't read the name there. No, I think that's his mother.
And in this picture?
This picture is my grandmother, that I'm named after her.
And your grandfather?
Yeah.
These are your grandparents. It's just so special that you have these pictures.
Yes, it is amazing.
When was it the first time that you saw this picture of you with your mother and your father?
I've just seen it now.
A long time ago. Why, you haven't got this?
No.
But when you were growing up, you never had this picture?
No. No.
And you never had
We
pictures
only found it afterwards. Never had it.
So you didn't know what your mother looked like?
No idea.
Growing up, you didn't know?
No.
Didn't know her
Because
at
my
all.
father never had pictures of her. And I once said to my stepmother, when we wanted to discuss my mother, because I lived in Antwerp, I made Aliyah here 11 years. And after 11 years, my husband wanted to go back into the diamond business. So I went back to Antwerp. It was supposed to be for 2 years, turned out to be 8 years. And during that time, I once asked my father about my mother. But my stepmother was there, and she was
Didn't want to know.
She didn't want to hear anything. So I said to her, why? I said, why is the name of my mother a threat to you? She's dead. Nothing can happen to you. Won't affect your marriage in any way. Why can't my father even mention it? No, didn't want to
Well,
know.
I remember.
So my father didn't want to upset her. He clamped down. He never said anything.
But you remember one Friday night they were there and Esther was there, and he started to talk.
Yeah.
And she was very annoyed, and Esther said to my father, please ignore her. It's important for me to know what happened to my mother. And he started telling us a little bit, but he couldn't tell us everything because
It's so sad.
She objected to Strange.
But how old were you when you saw this picture for the first time?
Maybe 10 years ago.
Only 10 years ago. It's the first time you saw this picture.
About 10 years ago. 10 or 12 years.
And before that you had never seen this picture?
No.
You didn't know what your mother looked like?
No, only from the pictures, the marriage pictures.
Wow. So this picture of both of you with your parents, it's so significant, and it's
Yeah.
You
can see your mother smiling and so happy.
You want to take a picture of that?
And
if you haven't got-
we were in Blankenberg,
In Ostend.
in Ostend.
So when you used
Well,
to
my
get...
parents' house in Antwerp, I suppose.
Can I ask, when you got the parcels from your father, did you know that this was coming from your father?
Did we know what?
That the parcels that you received when you were at the
Yes,
monastery?
we knew it was from him.
And did you ever think, why hasn't he come to visit you, or why is he not with you?
No, we
We knew he put us there because we didn't have a mother to look after us.
no.
And he wanted to escape, so
And did you ever think he would come back and collect you?
he sent a nurse to come and fetch us. It was about a good few years afterwards.
Madame de Costa, her name was.
And when we arrived at the station, we didn't know if we would recognize him.
So what year was this? When the war ended, how long did you
It
still
was
stay?
1945, it must have been. That's when the war ended.
And did your father send a nurse to...
To bring us from France to his sister in London.
by with train.
And where was your father at this time?
He was also
He
in
was
England.
he was in London. He lived in London. He was in the diamond business. That's where he met my stepmother.
And it's a very difficult question I'm going to ask you. But why didn't your father come personally to collect you?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I couldn't tell you that. No idea.
We-
Sorry if I'm asking
No,
a
it's
very
okay.
personal...
No, it's okay.
But we recognized him when we saw him.
So your father sent a nurse, and you remember her name?
Madame de Costa, her name was, the nurse.
And she was a nice lady, a
She
friendly
was a very
lady.
nice lady. She brought us there. And then we saw our father.
How did you go? Did you go by boat or...
With a train.
No, by train. By train. And then we went to his sister, his aunt, who looked after us, Auntie Bosch, in Maida Vale in London.
But from France?
From France, yeah. We
So
went,
to go over the channel, you must have gone on
You must have gone whichever way at
on a
that
boat,
time.
and then...
Whichever way that time you came from France to London, that's the way we
But you
came.
were still very young.
I think he must have known this person that he sent to fetch us.
Do you remember the trip? Do you remember anything
Yeah.
about that trip?
I remember she offered me a banana and I didn't know what a banana was.
And when you came to... And then did you arrive in London?
And she gave us a doll. She gave you a white doll, she gave me a red
Yes, we
doll.
arrived in London and she looked after us.
And when did you see your father? Was it soon after that?
He was, we married him. He married,
No, but when did you first see your father?
When he was at the station, at the train.
When you arrived?
Yes.
And how was that interaction when you met your father? It must have been very difficult because you hadn't...
Yes, we didn't really know him that well. Yeah.
We were very little when he put us in the convent.
Was he very emotional? Was he crying when he saw you?
I don't know.
No,
Don't know.
don't think so.
Couldn't tell you.
And did you feel a bond, immediate bond with your father?
No.
I don't remember any
you've
of
been
those questions. I
separated
don't
for so
remember
long.
any of those feelings.
No, and then
Don't
when he
know.
got married, he sent us to a boarding school.
So did you stay with him? Did he have a home that you stayed with in London?
No, in my aunt's home.
No.
In your aunt's home?
My aunt's home, yes.
And coming to England, you went to Jewish school?
In Brighton.
In Brighton.
In Antwerp, no, there was no Jewish school at the time.
But in Brighton you went to...
A Jewish boarding school.
That's all to do.
And then after he got married, he sent for us to live with him. And we went to a school in Antwerp, but there was no Jewish school in Antwerp.
Soigny, or
Marie-José.
Did he move back to Antwerp?
Yes.
He moved back to Antwerp with my stepmother.
But we went
And
to
he went into the diamond business, and we went to school, like on a daily basis. But it wasn't a Jewish school because there was no Jewish school at the time.
And were you part of the Jewish community? Did you go to
He
Jewish...
wasn't
Yes,
reli-
we
he
went
was-
to-
He wasn't
to-
religious anymore.
Yeah, but
He
we
lost all
went
his
to
religion.
religious young groups in Antwerp. We were brought up Jewish in Antwerp.
And your father wasn't religious anymore?
No.
And his wife, was she...
She kept a kosher home. We had a kosher home always.
Yeah, but she wasn't, they were not religious.
And how long did you stay in Antwerp? Did you
Until
go
we
to...
Till we got married.
Until
So
we got
you
married.
lived in Antwerp after the war for...
Yes,
Yeah.
no, and then they went back to London and we opened a hat shop.
Yeah. When was that?
And when you were growing up in Antwerp, did you mix with a lot of the other Jewish children?
Yes. We went to what was that B'nai Akiva? What was it called?
Sinai.
No. It was a Jewish group we used to go to every week. Yeah, we had a
Was it
Jewish life even though we didn't go to a Jewish school.
And the Chagim, you had Seder, and you had all the...
Seder and Rosh
So
Hashanah.
they were traditional, your father... and-
Well, they're traditional.
No, we didn't keep Shabbat.
She kept a kosher home, but outside they would eat anything. But
And did they, like your father and your stepmother, did they associate with many other Holocaust survivors?
No.
Their
No.
friends?
only Jewish people in Antwerp. My father was a big bridge player. We play bridge, but he was a big bridge player. And in the Boursa, in the Diamond Boursa in Belgium, a lot of people were playing bridge and doing all kinds of things there, as well as the diamond business.
And do you remember any of your parents' friends? Any of the
Some
names?
of his friends, yes, I remember a few of his friends.
Who?
Gittler,
Oh yes, Joseph Gittler.
and a few of them, I can't remember the name, but I remember a few of them who lived in Antwerp, who he was socializing with. And if anyone said anything against Jewish people, I remember I saw a man in the street who called somebody else a dirty Jew. My father grabbed him by the collar like this and practically lifted him up. It was very Zionistic. Not religious, but very Zionistic and very pro-Jewish.
And did you have a good upbringing in Antwerp?
Yes, yes, we had a good upbringing.
She looked after us. She did look after us very nicely, I must say.
He was in Africa a lot, buying diamonds, and that's where he met her husband and my husband.
Yes, because
In Africa, when he was
He-
working.
with my ex-husband, they were in Africa together working, and my father
where were
got
they?
appendicitis, and Daniel, that was my husband, looked after him, and my father said, go to my mother and go to my wife and tell her. And
That was my husband and her husband.
And brothers.
2 brothers. We married 2 brothers.
And what were their names?
Maurer.
Daniel and Aaron.
Daniel Maurer and Ari Maurer.
Aaron.
And where were they in Africa? Do you know
No,
which country?
Daniel was in Africa with my
In Ghana.
In Ghana.
And he came to see us, to tell us that our father was okay. And when we saw each other, we fell in love at the first sight. And he proposed the first time we went out together. But then he went back to Africa, and I didn't see him until we got married. So I didn't really know him. But we were very happy together for a while. And then unfortunately he met somebody and misbehaved, and I couldn't take it.
But did you ever think that you'd marry 2 brothers? That
Yes.
2 sisters would marry 2
I
brothers?
was married to mine for 43 years. This coming Pesach will be 17 years. Chalamoid Pesach that he passed away. 2005. And from him I've got 2 lovely daughters, 10 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. I'm very happy.
Yeah. We're like, Baruch Hashem, very lucky with our family today.
Yeah.
With everything,
And
everything
mostly-
that I've suffered, I'm so lucky with my family. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm very close to all of them. I've got a daughter and 2 sons. My 2 sons still live in London, but they come to visit me because I can't travel anymore. But no, we're very close, I must say. And the children are very close to each other. Nobody fights, nobody argues.
It's wonderful.
Yes, it is wonderful.
It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. We had a birthday party only a month ago, and we had all Esther and Shimon's family. Esther married a very nice Jewish young man, Tati.
It's
And we had a birthday party for a newborn baby, and just his family and our family. We were 62 people, just us. Yeah.
This is me at 6 months.
with your mother at 6
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
And the picture on the right,
Me also.
and this picture, it's with your.
This picture, there's my stepmother.
Yes, as our
And
stepmother.
the 2 of us in Antwerp, and we lived when we went to school in Antwerp.
Pink dresses.
It's very nice, yes, fully pink dresses. She used to always dress us the same until the age of 16. And then we started to want to dress differently.
And they had a son, your father and your
Yes,
stepmother.
they had a son, yes, Michael.
Yeah.
And was there?
He was in the diamond business also.
And you got on well with him. You had a.
Yes, okay.
She didn't see him a lot, but I saw him for 8 years when I lived in Antwerp. He passed away last year, actually.
No, he went to
In
live
Florida. He went to Florida.
Now, can I ask you a big favor? Is it possible to read this article?
Yes, of course, yes.
Could you read it?
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. You wrote a true story called Closure. So, Antonia, this would be so special if you could read it.
Okay. Closure, a true story. On Yom Ha'atzmaut, my daughter went on a trip, on a tour, and she met somebody's mother whose friend was from Australia to visit. The friend who was born in Antwerp, like myself, and my sister Cecile introduced his mother, Rose Gottlieb, and my daughter Esther Rose Gottlieb asked my daughter her family name. When Esther said Blitzer, Rose's face turned white, and she asked Esther, "What do you know about your grandparents?" Esther explained that she knew her grandfather, but she had never met her grandmother, who had died when her own mother was with 2 years, and Esther explained that her mother had no information about her late mother. Rose proceeded to tell Esther that their family was in the same train as we were, that we found from each other when we had all left Belgium and France and the Germans invaded Belgium. We had simultaneously arrived in our own called Rodez, still unaware of each other. My daughter Esther did not want her anymore without my presence and asked if she would wait and phone me. I was to hear from her total stranger whom implied she knew something about my family, that I arranged to meet her, and she lived in Efrat. We met, and that is what she told me. She said she was 11 years old when they left Belgium, so she was going to school, and they was in the way home from lunch. Being from an Orthodox family, she ate at home, and the two men who immediately identified as Jewish, sitting in a bench, thinking of new, distraught. Upon reaching home, she told her father about the two sad men sitting in the park, and insisted that she go to see him. Her father went to see the two men, and approaching them asked, "What is the matter?" My father helped that his wife and sister's mother had just passed away in hospital, and she did not know what to do. Rose's father, a total stranger in these men, took them both in the house and told my father that he would make all the arrangements for his wife to have a Jewish burial. Rose remembers asking how he would be when, as there was the rabbi and her father was a Cohen. He answered that it was more of a mitzvah to bury someone in a suitable person should not be bound. Can you imagine how I felt when I heard a total stranger from Australia told me that her father himself, my mother, buried my mother? I was so unemotional. I cried all the way home, and many have after that. Following my meeting with Rose, I all not remember how much we were in at the time, like return. And I was ready to. I was only 2. When Rose's I sent an email to the town hall in Rodez with all the information. And after 67 years of having no information about my mother in her passing, I finally received her death certificate, and with all the beginnings of the closure. I am now going to France, and we will go to Rodez to my mother's grave. I am of course in touch through email with Rose, who has now returned to Australia and landed in Belgium, and came to Israel to visit her 2 daughters through inside. Was she filled in this missing with her life, but me, it was been like finding a needle in a haystack. What I cannot understand is why my father never told us a thing about it. That's it.
But it's closure. You actually got closure.
Yes. Passover. It's for mail from Egypt. Okay, whatever.
It's wonderful that you wrote this.
Yeah.
Danny, it's so special.
There were no Jewish cemeteries in the time when she died.
And this was
Had to bury
this
her.
article was in the Jewish paper.
So if I can ask you both, what message do you give to your children and your grandchildren, and now you have great-grandchildren?
Well, they ask us these questions that you've been asking us, and we
And
answer
you've
we
always been
answer them
open.
to best of our ability. What we remember, we tell them.
But with your children, did you tell them that you were in a convent, and did you tell your children?
Yeah, we
that
told
you were
them.
I read
survivors?
that to them when I was at the birthday party.
We told them all these
And
things.
they were always interested to know.
Yes.
Yeah, and one of my granddaughters went to Poland to look at for my grandfather's grave. Couldn't find it.
You know, because we are their grandparents, and they realize we never had grandparents, so that's why they're asking all these questions. And what we remember, we tell them everything. We don't hide anything.
And coming to live in Israel, was it always important for you both?
Yes, yes. We
Cecile-
came here on our honeymoon, you know.
Cecile came first. My daughter came to my daughter. She went to Sem, and she told me, "Mommy, I'm not coming back to England. I want to stay in Israel." So I said, "Esther, you can't stay in Israel without saying goodbye to the family. You come back, I'll make you a farewell party, and then you go back." And during that time, I got divorced. So I thought to myself, my sister lives there, my daughter wants to live there. Why shouldn't I live there? And luckily, they were in Brazil, and they bought emeralds, and with the emeralds they made a profit and bought these flats for nothing.
We bought our flats together on the 11th floor. I was on the 11th floor in the other building, and she's on the 11th floor here. So if we looked out the window, we could see each
It's
other.
amazing that you look how your lives have been so connected.
Yes. And we bought the apartments, and when we moved in, they weren't ready, so I moved in with my sister-in-law, my husband's brother's wife.
I
And we
made
lived there
Aliyah
for a
before
while.
her.
And the boys said, I said to the boys, you know, if you come to the army with me, you'll have to go into the army. So they said, so what? Anyhow, so eventually they came, and Jonathan went to a school in Haifa, Tony Brown boarding school for Jewish boys, which he didn't like. They really buttered him. He didn't like it, so he left, and he went back to Brazil to work for my father, which was also no good. And because he married, we don't know if he was married, because we don't know if she was Jewish or not. He married this woman that was having an affair with, and that's when I said I want a divorce. I don't want to live with somebody who's having an affair. And I got divorced, and the children lived with me, and they went to school, and Simon went to a day school here he went to Bar-Ilan, and eventually they both went into the diamond business, but Simon didn't like the business at all, so he left, and he did charitable work, which he raised money and made dinners for different companies and different people, and he raised a lot of money, and he was very popular. He was very, very good at his job. And then he opened his own business called Inspire, and now, what's he doing, Simon?
But it's wonderful that the family they're very close,
We're a
and
very close family.
it's just amazing to see both of you, that you, first of all, that you were married in the same year. What date were you married on,
I was
Cecile?
married in 1962.
The first of
No, when were you born?
the 1st of February.
I'm born the 1st of February 1937.
And I'm born the 23rd of December 1937.
In the same year,
the
and that
same year.
Yes.
you married
No
both.
TVs in those days.
It's amazing that your lives have been so interlinked.
Yes,
so,
yes, absolutely.
And you live in the same town, in the same building.
We
Yes.
came back after 8 years because we sold our apartment when we went to Belgium, When we came back, I said, I want to live on this complex. I'm not interested in living in Tel Aviv. He said, why? There's wonderful places in Israel. But my late brother had another brother who had an apartment here in Netanya. There were 3 brothers together. They had an apartment here in Netanya. So I said, I want to go back to Netanya on that complex. So we found this flat was for renting. We rented this flat for 2 years, not with this furniture, this is my furniture. And after 2 years, the flat belonged to an old lady, and the family wanted to sell it for tax reasons while she was still alive. So because we were sitting tenants, we bought it.
Wow.
This is only 2 bedroom as against 3 bedroom, but I'm by myself, that's more than big enough.
Wonderful.
We have a very nice swimming pool here, which we use.
But you have your sister here, which is incredible. I just want to thank you both. If I can just thank you both so much. I am so incredibly grateful to both of you.
That's all
and
right.
this has been just
so
unbelievable.
where will you publish all this?
I will show it to you. I'll show it to you. But really, I just want to wish you both that you should have mazel and bracha.
Thank you very much.
Just nachas from your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Have a lot nachas from grandchildren.
And may this room till 120 in good health. And all of Hashem's blessing.
Let me show you something which is recent here. A year ago they made this for me, my children. Now you can see, you'll be able to see how close the family is with all this.
It's wonderful. And
take a picture of that.
It's so beautiful.
Take a picture of this.
And then I just want to ask you, Cecile, this, what you showed me over here, this came from your parents' home.
Yes.
So this is really a real antique.
Yes, it is beautiful.
It's magnificent.
Yes.
Do you know how old it is?
I don't know how old it is. It's not, I don't know how old it is. They bought it once they were in Italy once.
And I just want to take a picture of these beautiful pictures that you have here. Cecile, if you could explain,
do you need a light?
Please, if you could explain, these are the pictures that we showed, and here's your grandmother,
great-grandmother,
great-grandmother, and your
great-grandmother, grandmother, mother.
And that was your parents' wedding?
Yes, my mother and father.
And when did you see that picture of your parents' wedding?
Pardon?
The picture with your mother and your father?
Yes.
Did you have that picture in your home?
No.
As well, not?
What, my home in Antwerp?
Or when did you first see the picture of your parents' wedding?
With all the other pictures, with all the
but
other...
For all the years you never saw the picture?
No.
So you didn't know what your mother looked like?
No.
It's incredible. And you know...
And my father, he was so handsome. He was 21, I think, there. Very young.
And this is such a beautiful picture of both of you.
Yes.
Oh. So I just really, really want to thank you both so much.
Thank you very well.
You have a beautiful home, and
this is my late husband, his brother.
That's
and
really special.
Here he is with 2 of his grandchildren. He's a paramedic, Jamie, and he's in Budapest studying to be a doctor. And she has a baby now.
It's wonderful. Oy, thank you so much, both of you. I'm so grateful.
Happy.
And so this is your father's sister who looked after you after the war?
The one with the hat is my stepmother. The other one is my father's sister who looked after us after the war.
And what was her name?
Basha. Charles and Basha Miller, she was called.
So here we have Cecile and Antonia, and you both are the most incredible sisters, that your lives are so intertwined together. And here's a picture with your dear mother, and this was taken before the war in Belgium.
In Belgium. Ostend, I think.
I think it was Blankenberg, but still.
No.
And here's a picture also with your parents. And you only got to see these pictures many years later.
Yes, many years later.
Wow. So can I just ask, this is the very first time that you've ever been on video telling the story?
Yes.
And
We told the stories to our children, speaking
never
to
on
them,
a
but
video.
no one's ever
and
videoed
they've
it.
never come from Holocaust museums
No,
or
no,
Yad
no.
Vashem or Spielberg?
No.
Well, I'm so grateful to you both. And can I just ask, having done the interview that you did, are you pleased you did it?
Yes. Yes.
Are we what?
Pleased?
Yes. Very
Yes,
pleased.
yes, thank you.
Very
Well,
pleased. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and
Yeah.
telling our story.
Well, I'm so grateful to both of you. I
Yeah.
think your story is remarkable, and I'm extremely grateful to you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And